Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by John Cartwright and Chuggaaconroy to give our predictions for the upcoming Pokémon Sword and Shield Direct. So, let's get started. Alright fellas, so in just a few days, specifically Wednesday, we got some more information coming about Pokémon Sword and Shield, 15 minutes worth. So, we gotta fill that 15 minutes somehow, so I thought I'd bring you both on and talk a little bit about what we're hoping to see and what we might expect to see. Just right off the bat, Chugga, how are you feeling about this direct? Do you think it's going to be a big one, or do you think it's going to be like, here's the basics?
I think it could have some exciting information in it. I'm taking this as the game not being shown at E3. Pokemon usually does its own thing, and it's been kind of surprising that they've been a part of the E3 Direct slightly these last few years. So I think it could have some exciting features that are meant to sell people on it, because Nintendo does kind of go in Nintendo in general just goes in a pattern where they're always like, hey, here's just the title, and then like a few weeks later, okay, well, here's the stuff you're supposed to get excited over.
Exactly. What about you, John?
Well, when they show Pokemon at E3, it's usually like a recap of stuff they've shown beforehand. So like last year they showed Let's Go, and it was basically stuff we'd already seen. So I expect them at E3 to have some sort of treehouse segment, but not show too much. As for this Direct, though, it's really hard to say. Like, there's 15 minutes new information, but that could just be 15 minutes of new Pokemon reveals, or it could just be them walking around the first route and just explaining everything to us. So it could be either everything or nothing at all. But I'm kind of hoping for at least a little bit more than nothing. So my expectations are for them to sort of like show us a few more towns, show us just raw gameplay, and show us some stuff of Gen 8, because there's a ton of reveals that we haven't seen. We only know of 3 Pokemon at the moment. So there's a ton of possibilities and potential for this.
And that's basically where I'm coming down. I expect this to be the blowout of giving us the basics. Like, here is what, on the outset, just makes Gen 8 unique. And E3 will likely have a treehouse segment where they show off the opening town, kind of like what they did with Sun and Moon, and just sort of take you from the opening until getting to that first bit, so you have a little bit of chance of catching some wild Pokemon, coming across some trainers, showing off the battle system a little bit, just giving a very bare essentials approach. But I do think that we'll actually have some decent reveals within this Direct. I'm gonna go with my first prediction right off the bat. Make it very easy, very simple. We're obviously gonna see some new Pokemon, likely just from the early game. I know, shocking, right? Really? Pokemon in a Pokemon Direct? It's weird.
Oh man, the hype machine's really cranking now.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I mean, when I say that, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get anything too crazy. I mean, here's your bug Pokemon, here's your Pidgey equivalent, here's your Rattata equivalent, that sort of stuff. The early Pokemon that are, cute designs, but nothing too crazy or unique yet.
I mean, you say it's not exciting, but at E3 a few years ago when they showed Peaky Peck, I lost it. I'm just... Peaky Peck!
That was a good one. I mean, that said, I ended up using 2 of those early Pokemon to the very end. Ended up having Vikavolt and Pick-a-Peck's final evolution to canon.
Vikavolt.
Vikavolt's so good. So yeah, maybe we'll get some surprises like that where they're actually surprisingly awesome.
Yeah, let's hope so. But here's a question. With the new Pokemon, do you reckon there are going to be any new types?
I actually have this written down. You know what gets me excited about Pokemon announcements? And it's not just Pokemon designs. I like it when they show off new type combinations or new abilities. Mm-hmm. If not new type combinations, I'd want the new abilities, because I remember losing my mind when hearing about Sandile and its Moxie for the first time and thinking just how fun that sounded that it gained attack all the time, but... Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure there will be new type combinations in the game, of course, but I'd be kind of surprised if they did one tomorrow because, like Derek said, they're usually very basic with early Pokemon.
Sure.
I mean, I could see them definitely having some new... Like, it feels like we got a lot of new abilities with Sun and Moon, so I can see them continuing that with Gen 8, coming up with some new ideas for these Pokemon that sort of match their personalities or what have you. I am hoping for, of course, new type combinations as well. I think that'd be really cool to see. And just because it's surprising how many combinations we don't have yet.
I've never personally looked at a list of all the type combinations that we've never had just because I like being surprised, though. But is it really that many?
I feel like it's more than you'd think. It feels like everything's out there, and then you think about this combination, it's like, oh, that hasn't been done. And I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but yeah, stuff like that.
Fire Ice, I guess?
I think Fire Grass I don't think has been done either.
We do have a fire water now.
We do. But yeah, it'd be cool to see.
Definitely. New type combinations would be awesome. I love like just seeing things that were previously not possible, even on just like a type chart level.
What about you, John? What are you predicting?
So, my first prediction is we're going to have a jerk rival this time. And not only is he going to be a jerk, but he's going to have a catchphrase. And my prediction is his catchphrase is going to be buzz off. So he'll say things like, here's your town map, now buzz off. Or let's have a Pokemon battle, now buzz off. And that's basically going to be the gist of this character.
I hope he actually has like a moth Pokemon.
Oh god, that'd be amazing. Oh, that'd be great. I mean, I can kind of see it happening. I mean, it might not be the case, but one of the things I noticed in the on the Galar region map is that what I assume to be your rival's home, unless you meet him later, seems to be a mansion compared to what you're starting out with. So I'm kind of hoping for some class warfare.
That'd be great. The thing is, with Let's Go, your rival in that game looks like a jerk, but he's so friendly. Like, he has the face of a jerk. There was a potential to be a jerk, but they didn't do it. And I think they had an explanation for that, saying they didn't want younger players to be intimidated by sort of like just jerk characters. But I think the internet has shown that we want our jerk characters, so hopefully they go for it this time.
The explanation that I heard in it, this was in an interview, so it might have just been one guy's opinion on it. It was that in the earlier days, they had to give the characters much, much more exaggerated personalities to make them memorable because they only had so much screen real estate to work with and they couldn't have memorable character design. But as time went by and graphics got better and you could see more clearly what a character looked like, they felt like they didn't have to go that route anymore, which I don't agree with at all. I don't think that graphical fidelity equals, well, we don't have to try as hard to make these characters memorable.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad excuse to me.
Yeah, me too.
really
Like it was probably just one guy's opinion or like,
Probably.
you know, his interpretation of why they're not doing it though, but you know, I agree with you. We want characters with memorable personalities. Sun and Moon did have a really good human cast. You know, I like Kukui, I like Lily though, but I could go for a change of pace with them having jerk characters again.
Yeah, even Gladion didn't get a chance to be a jerk for very long.
Not overly, no, just a couple of scenes, and to me it just came off more like the anguish and not really so much him being a jerk.
Yeah, it definitely came across more of that. And who knows, maybe we'll... I feel like there's a lot of potential with this one, but I don't think we'll have an overly friendly rival character. We might have another character take that role, but I do hope for... Come on, somebody... Let me feel good about beating this person. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm the bully.
I feel so bad for Serena because like she's the one who's interested in Mega Evolution. There's only one Mega Ring. The two of you fight over it. Your character shows no interest before that point. You take it from her, and then you just beat her face into the ground for the rest of the game with Mega Evolution she can't use. Mm-hmm. I feel so awful for my rivals though, but like. That's what made it so satisfying, is you knew that in your rivals' eyes back in the early days, that in their eyes, they were still better than you. It was just a fluke. And it was going to take a lot of wins before they would actually see you as better than them.
And they found a way to make... Like, Blue is still cocky as all get out. He's just toned down a little with all of his recent characterizations. But he's like, he still has that, like, I am just that dang good. And, you know... I'm not going to rub it in your face anymore, but I know I'm good.
In Let's Go, he's hilarious. He's one of the best parts of that game.
Absolutely. So hopefully they'll find a balance like that, because I don't think they've ever gotten meaner than Silver. I think Silver is probably the roughest of the rivals.
Easily, yeah.
What about you, Emil? Got another prediction?
I want our prediction about the League Town being visited partway through the adventure in that castle town to be true. The thing that we talked about last time that I was on to talk about Sword and Shield?
Yes.
I think it's been forever since you've actually gotten to visit the League site before competing there, and I think that it gives you something very tangible to work towards. It would be a very interesting layout for the region that would set it apart from the others. The League could just as easily be that really huge, tall town at the far north end of the region, but I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be a place that you visit partway through the journey, because I think it would just be really interesting to see.
I think it would make the game feel less linear too. Like, if you're just going from south to north and ending your adventure there, then there's no real exploration. Whereas if it's in the middle, then you have to go all the way back around the region to get back to the destination. And you're totally right, it does give you something to aim for as well. So yeah, I hope that's true too.
You're kind of bringing me back to all those comments being like, OMG, this game is going to be even more linear than Sun and Moon. Just look at the region, it's a straight line. And I'm like... But, like, as weird as that was, I hear you. I like the idea that you would progress through it in a way that you don't expect, so you really don't ever know what is next.
And also to address those linear comments, Derek did a really detailed analysis of the map, and it looks like you branch off in so many different directions at different points, and there may even be some sort of non-linear progression to what order you can take towns on. So if that comes to fruition, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful for that. I mean, this is Pokemon. It's very possible, like, hey, these Psyduck are having some headaches right here. You can't go past them right now. Come back later. So they'll definitely have the appearance of being able to go wherever you want, but there's always some sort of barrier in the way until you do a certain thing, and then you can go that way. But I am hoping for a little bit more non-linearity. I think we're still going to be, having a certain way to go, but I feel like there might be spots where you could go this way or this way, and you choose the order and have things affected by that. I think that'd be a really cool way to do it, and it actually might tie into my next prediction, which one of the things I said in my analysis was the possibility of having two professors. And I still think that I think we're going to get the professor reveal, and I do think we're going to get twins, especially if we have those two alternate routes. So you can have one professor if you go meet them and have their story, and if you go to the other way, there's the other professor. So it doesn't matter which way you go, you still get the same story, just in different order, and you meet different professors.
That'd be cool. What if one of the professors is the head honcho of the evil team in the Galar region?
That's a new approach. I like that.
Oh man, it reminds me of the first Pokemon Adventures manga, where it's like half the gym leaders were in the pocket of Team Rocket.
I don't have a whole lot I could say about thinking it's true or not, because really all we have to go off is the houses on the map, like you showed. But it's interesting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if the professor was the one giving the direct.
Oh, that'd be really cool. A nice way to introduce it. Like, hey, here's the professor and all that. Do you think it's going to be a man or a woman this time? Because we've mostly had men, but you think we'll go for the female professor again, first time since Gen 5?
I could go for that, yeah. And I don't mean that in a creepy way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's two professors, then they could be both man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping for some female professors.
Technically, we did have Kukui's wife studying the Ultra Wormholes in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but she was more downplayed in her role.
Yeah, she was there and definitely a professor, but not the main professor that everybody associates with.
I mean, I'm calling her Kukui's wife. I don't even remember her name.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think it started with a B, but...
That just goes to show.
Yeah.
I think Burnett?
Burnett? It might have been Burnett.
Burnett, I think.
Maybe. I think one of the big things they might cover in here is an explanation of what these new gyms are about, because that seems to be the focus. Like that symbol on the gym, on the outside of these gyms, is in the Japanese logo, which typically means, hey, this is our big new feature. And I do think we'll finally get our explanation for that.
Can I bring up really quick, on the note of gyms?
Of course.
That it's really funny how you predicted the concept for Pokemon Masters when you said that the Gym Masters would be like a 3v3 thing going on in a wide field last time we talked about Sword and Shield.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Last night when I was writing stuff down, I was just like, Derek predicted what Pokemon Masters was going to be, but he said that it was what the Gym Masters in Sword and Shield would be.
Wow, I'm better than I thought. That's really interesting. I'm still very curious what makes these gyms new. Like, what is the big twist there? And I honestly can't predict what that might be.
It's hard to say without seeing more, because all we really saw was your trainer sort of go into a football stadium, but we don't know how you progress through that. Like, do you just take on regular swarms of NPCs before getting to the leader, or is there something a bit more going on?
I think what I said last time was that I could see it kind of being like the Orange League, where you have to complete some challenge in order to face the gym leader, like sledding down a mountain or, winning at like a sports challenge or something.
It would make for a good way to combine sort of the unique things that you had to do with Sun and Moons.
Oh, the trials.
Yeah.
This might be how you would progress in the gyms. This is one of my wild predictions that I have written down. I'm going to say that this game's all-new feature, akin to contests and battle royales, is going to be like Pokemon Stadium minigames, but you bring your own Pokemon to it.
Ooh.
The reason I say this, it's a little bit outlandish, though, but Pokemon Stadium was the closest point of reference that I had, is that with it being a bigger scale 3D RPG, I think having something like a mountain you could sled down on Avalug's back in a snow area or something would give Pokemon more purpose, and it would fit the more dynamic things you can do with a proper 3D environment. I really like the Mantine surfing in Ultra Sun Ultra Moon, and I feel like this could be an evolution of that, and maybe that's how the gyms are, where you essentially have to compete in some kind of minigame challenge or win at some kind of side activity.
I want a gym where you eat a bunch of sushi as Lickitung. That's just it.
Delibird's delivery, put all the presents under the tree.
I really like that. Anytime you get a chance to use Pokemon for more than just battles, is a good time to me. And so just seeing like possible mini games, or like, hey, here's a mini game that this section of Pokemon can do, go for it. But it also might limit, like, crafting these mini games might be a bit more challenging considering how far ranging these Pokemon designs can be.
Some of them would have, not all of them would have defined purposes, of course, though, but it would further sell how society developed around people living with Pokemon.
And I do hope that the whole game just has more Pokemon just lying around, because I guess Let's Go had that a bit more with Pokemon actually appearing in real time. But for the most part, in Pokemon games, there's a very clear distinction between battles and just general life. Like in towns, very few NPCs have Pokemon just sort of roaming around. So the only real time you see Pokemon are in battles, or just occasionally in Pokemon centers, or just like 2 NPCs in a town with one. So I just want there to be more Pokemon just around there. Like, even if you look into the background or something, you just sort of see more Pokemon just roaming around and living their lives, and just like being a more organic part of the world.
Oh, I agree. It feels like they've been saying for ages that they want to do this more, because when X and Y was coming out, they said there were going to be a lot more Pokemon roaming around the towns, and that was going to make it special, but that ended up not happening. And if I had to make a guess, it's just technical limitations, and hopefully with it being on a home console, then it won't be the case anymore.
Yeah, I hope so. And also, actually, for the world just sort of feeling more organic, one thing I haven't given up on is a full 3D camera. Now, I've looked at the trailer a few times before doing this discussion, and I've realised that it seems the routes do have fixed cameras. That seems like something you can't really get past. But the interiors and also the towns don't seem entirely fixed. There's parts in that trailer where you're wandering around, and the camera, it doesn't seem like it's in any kind of fixed position. So my prediction here is there is going to be a sort of free camera, where when you're inside, when you're in dungeons and caves and just in towns, you can move the camera around, but when you're in routes, it's just sort of fixed whatever it wants to be.
I would love that. I think that's just a nice gradual progression to have that full 3D, and I think they could hide some interesting cool things there. Like, hey, here's this town, but if you turn the camera, here's you can find some secrets or cool little things here and there.
Oh, hiding items behind stuff in new ways would be so good, because there's so many items in Pokemon now where they have to put a good, 100 or so held items in every game now.
Right. Let's Go felt a bit small to me at times, because you're still abiding by the fixed camera, and I think now you have the potential to do larger environments. I think those are really going to pop with not just a more dynamic camera, but one you have direct influence over. Because when you look at a lot of the 3DS towns, they're pretty huge in scale. But I think if you span the camera around, they'd all of a sudden feel smaller, because the camera's sort of giving you the illusion that they're larger than they actually are. But now on the Switch, we have the potential for much, much larger environments. So hopefully the camera can go hand in hand with that.
I have high hopes for that area after the first set of mountains, where it's just those 3 big lakes. I'm so hoping that it's just one big play area that you can just explore, and that, just give us that non-linearity for the first time, like having different Pokemon in different areas and being able to go wherever you want within that space, because it still funnels you to the next town. And I'd love to just see them branch out like that.
That's an exciting point as well. Do you think this game is going to have load screens? Because I think obviously when you go inside and go into battles there will be. But just when you're wandering around the world, now they're not tied to the limitations of the 3DS, can they just stream the entire game seamlessly now?
Maybe.
I'd love it if they did. I mean, a lot of the stuff on the Switch doesn't have that when you walk around huge areas, like Xenoblade 2 doesn't, Breath of the Wild doesn't. Odyssey masks it really nicely by putting power lines everywhere.
Right.
I'd love it if it was more seamless.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
It always bothered me how Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, the original, didn't have load times except in a very few places, and then in the remake they just had to essentially put doors in the middle of grassy meadows. And then you had the mess that was the ocean, where move too far to the left it has to stop and load, move too far down it has to stop and load, move too far up it has to stop and load, and the map sizes weren't even consistent, so some of them were small, some of them were big.
Right.
Yeah. John, give us another crazy prediction.
Okay, here's another prediction for you. I think we are going to have dynamic weather in this game. I think you're going to be able to walk around, and sometimes it'll be raining, sometimes it'll be foggy, and other times it's just going to be a snowstorm. Now, of course, some areas in the game will have their fixed weather, like you'll go to a snow area, it's always snowing over there. But in other areas, just in routes or whatever, the weather's just going to change dynamically, and that's also going to affect what Pokemon appear in the wild.
I'd love that. I mean, just some really cool stuff, like having certain weather pops up in this area, or they cycle between them, and then, having more weather-based Pokemon would be really cool to see.
Yeah, and also it can sometimes take a while to get a water Pokemon in Pokemon games, because you have to either wait until you get a rod, or wait until you can surf. Whereas, if you catch water Pokemon while it's raining, that just gives you more opportunities to broaden out your types a bit earlier on.
I could be wrong, but I don't think weather's ever affected encounter rates. The closest thing was seasons in Black and White, but I don't think weather ever has. So that would be a new feature.
Be cool if they did it, yeah.
It's kind of an expected thing for them to do, too, so you'd think it would have happened by this point.
And it'd be really refreshing coming from Let's Go, which it didn't have any weather, but it also didn't have a night or day cycle. So having like a proper implementation on the Switch, that's all I want.
Definitely agree there.
Make these levels, these worlds, just feel that much more alive. I think that's the thing we all would love to see.
That's what it's boiling down to, either by having more Pokemon roaming around, or having weather, or just having Pokemon fitting into the society of the world more. Like, all of our predictions have been in some way making the world feel more alive, and I think that says something about how hungry we are for that after Let's Go.
So, I maybe this ties into John's earlier prediction, but do you guys think we'll see our new Eevee evolution with this Direct, or do you think they'll save that? Because we are on an even-numbered generation.
Yeah, I have two takes on this. So my first take is we're only going to see 15 Pokemon in this Direct, and none of them are going to be evolutions of prior Pokemon. But, on the other hand, we will have new forms. So we had Alolan forms in Sun and Moon. I think we're going to have Galar forms in this game, and instead of being based off the Kanto Pokemon, they'll be based on Johto Pokemon. So we have brand new variations of Johto Pokemon in Sword and Shield. But I don't think we're going to see evolutions of prior ones.
Please. I was kind of against the idea of Galar forms, and until you said based on Johto Pokemon, that's how I felt. That's what changed it, because I was thinking that if we have the same Pokemon getting, Alolan form, Galar form, Johto form, Hoenn form, whatever, whatever regions they could do in the future, it would just get really confusing and convoluted. But if it was just that, hey, Kanto Pokemon are the Alolan ones, Johto ones are the Galar ones, then that would not be confusing in the least, and I think it'd be a lot more interesting. And besides, where is all the Johto pandering? Those games still sold like 23 million copies and are widely considered by the older fans of Pokemon to be the best games in the series. I get the Kanto pandering, but why don't they ever do Johto pandering? Because it's not like it sold that much lower than Red and Blue. They're still some of the best-selling games of all time.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I don't get it either. And there is a part of me that thinks like maybe they'll just do more Alolan forms, because in the grand scheme of things, there weren't that many of them. So they could very well just do more of those. I hope they don't, because I'm kind of done with just more Kanto stuff. But more Johto love. I'd love that. Even
Mega Evolution greatly favored Kanto over the other regions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, please, let's get that. That said, I also hope for more evolutions of past Pokemon. Would be really cool. Like Farfetch'd, please give him an evolution or something.
Right.
Do something with this poor duck, because he's amazing and he doesn't get any love.
I'm rooting for Dunsparce personally. I've always been on his side that if Dunsparce just had higher stats, he would be an amazing Pokemon with multiple viable strategies.
That'd be amazing. Hey, there you go, Galar Dunsparce, or just Mega Evolution Dunsparce.
Ooh, Dunsparce is Johto and Farfetch'd is not. I have a bit of an edge in this discussion.
Yeah, you do.
So to go back to your actual prediction about Eevee evolutions, what types are we missing now?
We don't have Bug, we don't have Poison. I have a friend who said that he'd love a Poison type named Scorpion.
That'd be cool.
Nice. I mean, basically, a handy thing when I was streaming Pokemon at the older games specifically is that the best way to keep track of what was special type, what was physical type, is the Eevee evolutions. Every single Eevee evolution is a special type, other than Dragon. So I feel like to better fit the theme, it makes sense to have a Dragon Eevee.
Dragion.
Yeah, Dragion. Wivion.
Dragon would be cool. I'm not coming up with anything else that'd be interesting, and we don't really have, like, kind of a dragon that's more Therian like that, so I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the name Dragion. Pretty much just sounds like dragon.
Yeah. I mean, John asked if there would be any new types. I mean, I guess that would be the ideal thing to have Eevee be the new type, kind of like Fairy.
Uh-huh.
They haven't always done new types for Eevee, though, but I feel like nowadays they want a lot of justification if they're going to do an evolution to a past Pokemon, because they haven't been doing those at all lately. And I feel almost like they wanted to give the concept a long break after Sinnoh, where like a third of the new Pokedex was all evolutions of old ones.
Yeah. But actually, thinking about it, other than like Glaceon and Leafeon, Eevee was used to show off the new Dark type and just have it match up with the Espeon.
Espeon. Yeah.
So,
And your Eevee is big right now.
It is.
Eevee's basically the second mascot of the franchise at this point. So I think I do expect a new Eevee evolution. I don't know if they'll show it in this Direct, but I think the game will almost, well, I'm not going to say almost definitely, but it's very likely to have one.
yeah, absolutely. It's as you said, it's just huge right now. So I'd be shocked if Eevee didn't have a new evolution, especially because it just holds true to what they've been doing with it. What about you, Chugga? Any more predictions?
Do you want specifically Pokemon predictions?
Give some Animal Crossing predictions.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I wrote down that I think it'd be really funny if they introduced a water monkey Pokemon, so now Pansage, Pansear, and Panpour are all forgotten losers compared to a more successful monkey Pokemon of the same type. Because Grookey is overshadowing Pansage. Pansear was overshadowed by Chimchar from the very beginning of its introduction.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just stupid. If you want me to go into something that's actually like more shocking, though, I'm going to predict there's going to be voice acting in some capacity.
Really?
We haven't seen a cutscene text box yet.
That's
true. So true. Here's a question. Will it be like Breath of the Wild, where it's just like major cutscenes are voiced, or will every single line be voiced?
What I'm thinking is, if you had background voices, it could make the bustling streets feel full of life in these grander scale cities. I could go for important cutscenes being voiced, because it would be magical to hear the professor say, "Welcome to the world of Pokemon" for the first time when you turn on the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the trailer should start. That
would be amazing.
Oh yeah,
cool.
That's how the direct should be, narrated by the voice actor of the professor. But I disagree with full voice acting, because you know, these are large-scale games. It can get kind of tiring if everything is voice acted, and there certainly is a way of overdoing it, but I could go for normal text being like Fire Emblem Awakening capacity, where it's just the important lines getting spoken.
That'd be cool. You know, there's kind of evidence for this. Pokemon Masters, once again. During the trailer, that very short one, both Cynthia and Misty had a very short line.
That is voice acted, you're right.
So
interesting.
It's not impossible.
I wrote it down because a lot of other Nintendo franchises are going that route where, you know, Mario Odyssey has voice acting, Breath of the Wild has voice acting. You know, a lot of games are just going further and further voice acted these days, and they've proven that they can do a good job with it. But I didn't think about Pokemon Masters already being voice acted.
Yeah.
Right. And they've got a lot more cinematic with Pokemon lately. Like Let's Go, while it wasn't like that story heavy, they did have a few cutscenes which were pretty high quality. Like when you first go to see Bill, that cutscene there was actually really well animated, and there's a few cutscenes like that. And Sun and Moon was pretty like cinematic as well. Like your expressions didn't always work so well in the actual story heavy cutscenes, but it was pretty story heavy though. And to be able to tell that with more dialogue would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And Lily emoted like crazy, so giving her voice acting would kind of fill it in. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
She was the main character of that, though.
Oh yeah, she really was.
For sure.
I'll go for another easy prediction. We're gonna see our cover legendaries.
Oh yeah. In fact, we'll probably see the box arts as well at the end of the direct.
Agreed.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be based off those depictions we saw in the debut trailer, or is this going to be something we haven't seen in any capacity?
I feel like they have to be based off the wolf designs that we saw for both the logos of Sword and Shield. That's what I'm leaning towards more. That one we saw might be like a third one, that the third Pokemon of this tree, of this, of the legendaries, or maybe something else, or that could be how it actually looks and just highly stylized. But I feel like we're going to get two variation of wolf Pokemon, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to make them distinct, other than like a sword and a shield is attached to their tail, respectively.
Just like the Dark Souls wolf with a giant sword in his mouth.
Perfect.
I'm going to disagree that we're going to get a duo of wolf legendary Pokemon, because when I looked at those logos for the first time, I was thinking that was going to be the crest of the royal family that's in the history of the country or something.
Ooh.
And I could kind of go for the logos, not just... Well, like, have the legendary Pokemon been a part of the logo before? They've been a part of the box art, but... I don't think they ever have.
So.
No, they haven't, actually. That's a good point. I guess just because they were much more animal-based than we've seen in the past, I just thought, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Usually, the logo in Japanese depicts the exciting new feature, and then the American one is more lore-based, where you have X and Y being sort of stylized after Xerneas and Yveltal. I guess it's the only time that ever really happened. You have Sun and Moon, of course, having the Sun and the Moon.
Yeah, and Black and White didn't really do anything special. It's just, stylized versions of that. So, yeah.
Right.
Huh. I did not think about that, so I'm not sure.
Usually they're
now.
not depicted verbatim.
Yeah, I don't think so. You changed mine. I don't think so anymore, but now I'm truly curious what our legendaries are going to look like.
There's always that crop circle that looks like a giant stick man on a mountain. He looks kind of like a sword, right?
Perfect.
A little bit.
I mean, looking through my predictions here, I'm kind of running out. I think all I have left is, along with their explaining what gym masters are, and we'll probably get some new, of course, actually see one or two of the gym masters.
I've got a gameplay prediction here.
Ooh. Okay.
So, this prediction started off as a problem, and it became a solution. So, in Let's Go, I felt that battles were really slow. Like, sometimes you would, click on a move, and it would take a couple of seconds until it transitions into the actual, execution of that move. So, that's the problem. And how do we make that faster? Well, we could just make it a bit more streamlined, so when you press that button, it automatically just goes straight in. Or, we could do something that Dragon Quest does. So in Dragon Quest, you can speed up battles. You can speed up, I think, up to 3 times the amount that you're at. Bravely Default does that as well. And I think, just those two, really. And to be able to do that in Pokemon would be just so cool. Just go into a random encounter and just speed up the animations just to get through it faster. I realize you can turn the animations off, but I think you lose something when doing that. So some kind of compromise between the two there.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, the problem with the slowness, though, it might be just because the game's trying to load up the animation, so I'm not sure if speeding up will take care of that loading. I'm not sure.
Maybe not, yeah.
And before every Let's Play of this game just holds the fast forward button the entire time.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I agree, though. I think I am a bit of a purist on this one, though, and I might be alone, but I do feel like something is lost when you don't have the animations playing as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I get that. I definitely like always seeing the animations, and it just feels a little bit more satisfying.
People always point at the Pokemon Stadium animations as a solution for, the attack animations not feeling as good these days. And they're like, look at how much personality they had back then. But I'm like, bro, those animations take like 15 seconds. Battles took forever back then. Like, it's a game design decision to make them a lot quicker.
Right, that's a problem with Colosseum too. Like that game, I think if you made the animation shorter, that game would be a lot shorter.
It's the fact that every animation in that game has 2 parts, though, because it shows your Pokemon doing the attack and then it shows the other guy getting hit in like 2 parts and not at the same time, so it makes everything just by principle twice as long, even with the animations being slow.
Though Colosseum's actually an interesting point to bounce off, because every battle in that game consisted of 2 Pokemon in the same battle arena. And on the 3DS, they attempted to put even more Pokemon on the same screen at a time. Didn't always work, because the frame rate didn't really always want to keep up with it. But now on the Switch, we have a much more stable system. So do you think they're going to double down on having more Pokemon on screen at once during a single battle?
Do you mean will we see the return of triple battles?
Yeah, I was about to say triple battles actually got retired in Sun and Moon, so they kind of abandoned that after a while.
Right.
I mean, we could. I wouldn't mind seeing triple battles and rotation battles come back.
I kind of liked the idea in Black 2 and White 2 how Ace Trainer's gimmick was that they did triple and rotation battles as their like main thing. I could go for trainer classes that are more common that do double battles.
I'd like that. I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities. I never minded the double battles. It was always, change things up. But yeah, they did kill the frame rate of the 3DS in Sun and Moon,
right.
so hopefully that's ironed out.
Did you play Sun and Moon on an original 3DS or on a new 3DS?
Original, because that's the only way I could record footage.
Oh, I am so sorry. Double battles are just unplayably bad on the original 3DS.
Oh yeah, it was something else.
They're so bad.
Any other predictions?
Okay, this one probably won't happen. This is one I want to happen. So the trainers in Sword and Shield look a lot older than previous protagonists, and it'd be cool if I'm probably going to play as these guys, but it'd be cool if in the customization option you have multiple ages to choose from. So you could have like a younger trainer, and then maybe have like a 14-year-old trainer, and then a 16-year-old trainer, and it sort of gives you a bit more options, and it lets younger players sort of reflect themselves in their protagonist, rather than being stuck with someone who's older than they are.
I like that idea, actually. I feel like it had a sense of wonder for kids, though, because what older kids do is automatically cooler for them.
Right. That's true.
I don't know if they do it, though, because combining that with trainer customization would be an insane amount of work, but I like the idea on paper, at least.
Yeah, there's something really cool about that, because I kind of with the same idea, Black and White's protagonists felt much older. Like, they looked like they were at 13 rather than the typical 10-year-olds.
I think when I did research for my videos on that, it said that based on extended universe material, those protagonists are anywhere from 14 to 16, but actual age is unknown.
Really? I mean, I can see it.
And then N was canonically 16 in the first game as well.
Huh, and you're about the same height, I think. I haven't seen them next to each other. But yeah, I think around the same height, so maybe. I don't know, John. I'd like to see it, just because it's, having somebody a little closer to my age, just a little, would be nice.
Right.
It's interesting, I just don't think it's going to happen that you get to pick your age.
Yeah, it's probably a bit too much for them to implement into the game.
Kind of rather the time he spent on other things, though, but I think it is a cool idea on paper.
Yeah.
The last thing I've written down is that something that I want that I don't think they will do, and I've said this in the past, I want them to physically show the different sizes introduced in Let's Go, and I want them to bring back slight color variations from Pokemon Stadium. That went such a long way in making everyone's Pokemon feel special.
Right. It doesn't feel like the game's really taking anything from Let's Go. Like the real-time Pokemon encounters, they're gone. Catching elements, they're gone. Everything is pretty much gone. So, yet having that actual size framework in there, that'd be fantastic. And also, actually, one thing I want to do as well is ride and have Pokemon follow you again. Because we had walking animations for every Pokemon in the data of Sun and Moon.
Oh, yeah.
And implement that with every generation of Pokemon would be fantastic. And seeing their scale in the environment. And one of my favourite things to do in Let's Go was just like ride on top of a fast Pokemon, like get like Arcanine or something, and just get on his back, or fly on top of like a Charizard. Have that back in Sword and Shield.
That's a great idea, and it gives a lot of potential to different ways that you can navigate routes, because you don't necessarily have to surf, you can just float over it or something.
Oh man, I hated that in Let's Go when, like, you're meant to go, you're like on the back of a Charizard or something, and then there's just this gate, and you have to go into the menu, to take Charizard off, and then walk through the gate, walk back on the other side, get Charizard back out. Just let us fly over it.
That's what I was going to say, is that there needs to be a hotkey for this. There were hotkeys in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and yet in Let's Go, it's go into the pause menu, go into the Pokemon menu, select the Pokemon, scroll down to take out of Pokeball, then exit them. It was so counterintuitive.
We need to be able to play with just one Joy-Con. We can't have time. We don't have space for hotkeys.
It was so counterintuitive that I found myself not using the right features unless I actually needed to sometimes.
Same here.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I don't see the Pokemon following you in this game. I think they'll probably like, hey, we did it for you in the Let's Go series. there you go. We're not going to get in the main games.
I'm going to disagree. I think that it might be in there because it feels like they've wanted to bring it back for a while because, like John said, it's in the data for Sun and Moon, and then for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, they added more to it, implying that they tried twice to bring it back and they just weren't able to get it done in time.
Maybe.
It might have even been a 3DS limitation, because you would have to render another Pokemon on screen at all times, and the 3DS already struggled just running the game. So I could see that being why.
Maybe. On a new 3DS it played well, though, but I guess for original 3DS users...
Right.
There's no way they were going to make Pokemon new 3DS exclusive.
Oh, no.
Not happening. But, well, any other predictions before we end this thing off?
I've got one final one, and this is very quick and simple. I want to see an upgrade in the visuals. I think it already looked pretty good, but there's definitely room for improvement. And people thought they spotted some upgrades when they released the Uniqlo screenshots. I think they're a bit too low res to tell, really. But just seeing a bit more polish would be great. And more than that, though, more than just seeing new upgraded visuals, I want a fully orchestrated soundtrack.
Yes.
Now that we have more space on the cartridge, this is just the time to really go out and give Pokemon the glorious soundtrack it deserves.
God, I hope so.
The recorded soundtrack would be beautiful, and besides, if this one has it, that means there's potential for the Sinnoh remake to have it, and that would be wonderful for that to have a performed soundtrack.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they show us in this direct, and I'm also dreading it because that means I have to analyze this thing. So
You also have to see so many comments of people being like, OMG, why won't they just make this game be Breath of the Wild?
oh, yeah.
That's never going to go away.
Not every
gonna
game
happen.
needs to be literally Breath of the Wild, people.
It'd be cool. It's not gonna happen.
It's like, that game already exists.
Alright, well, I think that covers it for our Pokemon Direct predictions, so thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And Emil, where can they find you at?
I'm on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook as Chuggaaconroy. I make Let's Play videos, and I still can't plug the thing that I'm actually working on, but I just finished a Let's Play of Phantom Hourglass. I really am fated to meet with John every time I have to mention that game on this channel.
You really are. It's amazing he doesn't beat you.
I mean, I didn't say it was a
We'll
great
see.
game. I just said it had really interesting qualities and was interesting to talk about.
Interesting is definitely the word.
Yeah. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Pokemon, including the Direct, and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.